Anyway, I had the most gorgeous dress for the Iris Awards, but today we're not going to do dresses. We're going to do pie baking. So get flaky with me. I'm so grateful. I'm here with Annabelle Shea. She's one of these unbelievably gorgeous Gen Z influencers, you know, the new crowd that's coming up. So let's give her a shout out at Annabelle Shea. So today we're going to show you how to bake a pie crust. Laura told me I should tell you how long it's going to take, and I have no clue, but I think I'm going to try to keep it to half an hour. So I tried to do that thing, you know how when chefs are on TV, they have everything planned? So I tried to do that, but when I'm baking pie crust, I'm flaky, just like my crust. So hopefully I'll get it right. So how am I doing, Annabelle?
You're doing great. Do you want to tell them the ingredients?
Okay, let's tell them ingredients. Okay, so baking the perfect pie crust. Let's just start with the fact that people always ask me, what's the recipe? And for me, it's not about a recipe. Pies are about the crust. They're really not as much about what's inside as they're about the crust. And there's basically just 3 ingredients that go into a pie crust. Flour, fat, lard, Crisco, butter, and water. Which reminds me, I forgot to ice my water, but I can do that. So those are the 3 basic ingredients. A little smush of sugar, a little bit of salt. So that's what goes into a pie crust. My ingredients, these are kind of like modern day ingredients because our moms, our grandmas, they would have done it with 2 cups of flour, much less fat or lard. Because they were much more Spartan than we are. But I like to do a little more because I like to have a little bit of extra so that when I'm rolling out, it all kind of comes together. So let's pretend like I put 3 cups of flour and some salt and sugar. Tablespoon of salt. No, teaspoon of salt, tablespoon of sugar. I told you I was flaky when I baked pies. Okay, so what we're going to do first, we get our fat or our lard. So here's the truth about a pie crust. What you're really looking for is that perfect, what makes flaky is that perfect combination between flour and fat. Now, I'm using Crisco right now. If I had my druthers, I'd be using lard. I get it from my local butcher. Lard is great. This butter thing, way too fancy for a pie crust. Pie crust likes lard, okay? So what I would do is I would cut up that cup of lard, whatever it is. Now I do add a little bit of butter, that's the truth. Oh, by the way, the best butter to use is Kerrygold. But I'm using Land O'Lakes right now just because that's what I had. And what is it about the new butters? What's going on with this? These little packets. So I cut up my butter and I cut it into little chunks like this. See why there's no way I could really do a recipe? I'm doing my best, but you're going to see in a second that it's kind of hard to follow a recipe. By the way, I come from a long line of pie bakers. I come from the Great Pacific Northwest, from Seattle. We bake a lot of pies. We bake scones. I think because it rains all the time. And I grew up watching my mom bake pies. And I watched her. She never followed a recipe. She had gnarled hands. She had arthritis. And whenever she tried to teach me how to bake pie or how to make the crust, I was just so focused on perfection and figuring out the recipe. And I failed every time. And she used to say to me, you fuss too much, Danica. And it was really when I got to the point of not fussing, I just really kind of following my gut, that I finally mastered the pie crust. You know, so interesting. Cooking is memory. Cooking is love, right? Okay, so I didn't put it all in, but let's pretend for a second I did. We put the fat, a cup of fat, into the flour. We've got a tablespoon of sugar, got a little bit of salt in there. And I don't even know what this device is called, but I love it. Here's This is actually my mom's. Isn't that charming? And you start to cut it in. Now, if you don't have one of these devices, you can use 2 knives. My mother-in-law used to use forks, and you just keep cutting, okay? Now I'm gonna try to do the Rachel Ray thing, and I'm gonna like, and automatically I have one all put together. Ta-da! Oh, I come prepared. So you're cutting that up, right? Great segue, what do you think? So I'm cutting this up. And what I'm looking for is I really want to get to pea-sized shape, okay? And I just get my hands in there to get to like this pea-sized shape. So I'm kind of getting in the mood now. I'm forgetting what I'm supposed to say. And what I am going to say is that for me, pie baking is my meditation. It's my zen. It's my, I spend so much time, those of you who know me from Everywhere Agency, I spend so much time over the course of my day typing, doing proposals, reaching out to you influencers, kind of in this head mode that when I bake pies, I become completely at one with the crust. And that's all I think about. And honestly, I'm getting there right now. I can like feel the psychic energy in my body of what I need. So like, if you see me on Instagram, by the way, this is me on Instagram. Wasn't that clever? At Danica Kombol. If you see me on Instagram, you see I show my pies, and you probably think, oh my God, she must be 400 pounds. I actually don't even eat my pies. It's the act of baking I need to do. And a lot of people run, people have different things. Some people drink a lot of vodka tonics. I like them too. But in general, when I'm completely stressed, this is what centers me. So, okay, now, we've cut up the flattened flour. I've left the freezer. I have this in vodka here. Your grandma probably put a little bit of vinegar. Jen, try again.
Tech Savvy Mama says you need your own pie baking show.
Hi, Letitia Barr, Tech Savvy Mama. She is my roomie, my longtime roomie, Mom 2 Summit. So Grandma probably put vinegar in. Alton Brown says to put vodka in. I totally forgot about that, so I'm just going to put a splash of vodka. Take a little sip too. So yeah, we got the flour, cut into the fat, and now this is really important. I need a fork. So think about, can't remember where the forks are. Oh, well, we use the spoon. Think about when you bake bread or when you bake a cake, you're mixing, right? With a pie crust, you're not mixing, you're coaxing. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this liquid, and Annabelle, by the way, if you're just joining in, I'm with Annabelle Shea. She's amazing. She's adorable. She's a young fashion influencer. She's so cute. Follow her. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of coax this water into the fat and flour mixture. So let's kind of take a close up here. And you see, I'm not really stirring. I'm coaxing. Did I tell you it's ice water with a little bit of vodka? So, and you just kind of do it until it comes together. I forgot to also tell you something really important. Enemy to pie crust is heat. So your mama, your grandma, they would have got up first thing in the morning and put up their pies, because by the heat of the day, it's just way too hot. So I keep everything chilled. So that butter that I use, chilled. I keep my Crisco in the freezer. And like I said, if I had a source for large, but with the pandemic, my butcher's closed, I'd be using lard. So I'm just kind of coaxing that into the flour. And this is why there's no recipe. You just gotta coax it in until it comes together. Flaky pie crust, what do we want? we want a combination of fat and flour. So again, you don't want to mix it. And this is where I got wrong when my mom tried to teach me. I was like, okay, it's gonna come together. But no, I just kind of have to get my hands in there and I have to feel it. So it's a little too flaky. That's okay, I'm gonna add more water. What if I added too much water? I'll put a little flour in there. See how it's starting to come together? 3 cups flour, 1 cup fat. That's for a bottom and top pie crust. Again, greatest thing about a pie, the crust. Anybody can put some fruit in the middle of a pie. Recipe for a fruit pie, kind of depends. About 4 to 5 cups of fruit. The fruit is super ripe, not too much sugar. If it's not super ripe, less sugar. Let's get back to this. Okay, I have done it. I've brought it together. I'm gonna sprinkle a little flour on this. Annabelle, let's get in here. So what I've done now is I have coaxed this together, even though I didn't even put all the fat into it. Isn't that amazing? Into one big ball. What you do with that one big ball, you cut it in half, like that. You pull it together, and you put it in a plastic bag in the fridge for 20 minutes, okay? It has to sit for 20 minutes. I don't know why, but all the recipes say that. So, there we go. Let's pretend I put that in the fridge, then I wash my hands. By the way, pie baking is messy, messy business. Annabelle, do we have any questions from the Mom Too community?
Well, I have a question, which is, what is your favorite pie to make?
So there's all these new fancy pies. By the way, I put out here some great pie books. My piechiatrist is the author of this book, Kate McDermott. She actually does pie workshops in the Pacific Northwest. All these pies are great. You know, I love traditional pies. I used to try to make kind of fancy pies, like pear and hazelnut or whatever, and they just people didn't love them. I think, again, food, cooking, it's memory. So any of the traditional pies, pecan pie, apple pie, cherry pie is my favorite because it's so beautiful. How are we doing time-wise, Annabelle?
It is 4:28, so we're doing pretty
We're
good.
doing great. Okay, so doing my Rachel Ray thing, pretending like this is the crust I've formed. I've mixed the fat and flour, I've coaxed it together, and I let it sit in the fridge for 20 minutes. We are now going to roll out the pie crust. Before we do that, let's just talk a little bit about where that pie crust is going to live. When you go to the store these days, there are all these pie plates that are deep dish pie plates. Very groovy, very cool looking, very hard to work with because it's so deep. So most pie recipes don't call for that much inside, and then you really almost need more than 3 cups of flour. So in general, I avoid these. Also, if you think about the act of eating a pie, that's a lot to bite into. So I personally prefer pie plates, like just the traditional Pyrex type you get, not too deep. So we're going to be using this pie plate. So now we're going to get to rolling out the pie crust. So when I roll out a pie crust, and I made a little mistake here in that I got my rolling thing a little wet, but that's okay. I use this. This is just basically a piece of burlap, and you can buy these at Amazon. Before I discovered the burlap, dish towel. And why do I do that? Because one does not want to be scraping the pie crust off of marble. And you kind of need this, and you're going to see why in a second when I have my secret magic moment. Hi, Mom Too, friends.
Jeanette Kaplan says hi, and she wishes you shipped your pies.
Oh, Jeanette, I'm going to tell you something. Janetta's in Miami, and I made a key lime pie the other day that was to die for, even if I do say so myself. And that had a graham cracker crust. This is like, remember I told you about pie baking being zen? This is one of those sensual moments I'm going to share again. So I take a little bit of flour in my hand like this, and then I just roll it out here. And that kind of becomes my basis and keeps the crust I'm about to roll out from sticking. So one of my lessons in pie baking is, again, going back to Mom. That's her pie roller. I remember the day she burned it. Danica, stop fussing. Don't be a perfectionist. I'm still working on it, okay? So here we go. Here's the Zen moment. Danica, don't be a perfectionist. It doesn't have to be perfect. So we've got that lump of dough. Again, not flour. We want to be so gentle with it. We don't want to work it too much. If we do, that toughens the crust. So take a look at that. That kind of marbling and wrinkling, we want that. That's what creates the flakiness. That's my mom's roller. This is what she loved. Doesn't work for me. Every pie baker has a roller they love. This is my roller. Don't take it from me. Love it. I haven't been able to find one from it. Put a little bit of flour on the edge of your roller. Kind of try to make this roundish. Take your roller and slowly, gently, just start to roll back and forth. Okay, we're gonna keep doing that for a while. I kind of go around like this. If it starts to break or cut up, I just open it up. This is messy business. Don't wear nice shoes because you will get flour all over yourself. There's always flour on the floor around me. Pull your hair back because you don't want to have hair into your pie crust.
Your fairy goddaughter, Emily, and fellow pie baker says hi.
Hi, Emily. So this is the moment when the crust just starts to give. Take a look at this, people. This is beautiful. This is exactly what I want. Those bits of fat, see that? That's exactly what we're going for. And this is kind of the sensual moment. Sensual, because the crust at this moment is just going to start to give. Now, if I feel it starting to stick on my roller, the solution for that, let's put a little bit of flour on the roller. And notice I move this around because the crust is responding to the strength of my muscles. So maybe the right hand is stronger than the left. Okay. If I do say so myself, this is like flaky. So come close, Annabelle. The butter, that's exactly what we're looking for. Okay. Now here's the moment and why I love to roll out a crust on one of these. How am I going to get this into here? That is the question. Here's the magic. Take the arm. Flip this over. Bring the pie plate in and up we go and over. Oh, my pie crust tore a little bit. But remember the lesson I'm trying to learn? Perfection is not what we need. You know, there's all these pie bakers on Instagram that've got these perfect pie crusts. And I'm like, yeah, but what does it taste like? Okay, how are we doing with time?
It is 4:34, so we've got about 5 minutes maybe.
Okay, so we put a crust in the bottom. What do you think?
Looks great. Kelly says hi and ready to get pie in.
Now that's Kelly Dye. Everybody knows Kelly Dye at the Mom 2 community. Guess what? She's having a baby. She's 2 weeks away. Kelly, I will deliver a pie to your house. Now, if I was baking a pie for real, not for Instagram, I would put this immediately in the fridge. I would put this immediately in the fridge because remember the secret, what is the enemy of pie crust? Heat. So, of course, like Rachel Ray, I made my own pie crust ready to go. Here we go. Waiting here in the fridge. Ready to put in the oven. Another pie crust. So you know when you're eating a fruit pie and it can get really juicy on the bottom, serious pie bakers do something called crop dust. Not making this up. This is a combination of sugar and flour. Sprinkle that on the bottom of your pie crust. That takes up all the juices. I conveniently had the fruit cut. Just gonna pour that in the bottom crust. Da-dum, da-dum, dum. And again, just see how sensual this is, using my hands, loving the moment. That's gonna cook down. I conveniently have a top pie crust ready to go. Letitia was the one that taught me that you can actually build up a pie, put it in the freezer, and have it ready to go. So here's a pie crust ready to go. And I'm just going to put, it's gonna be a little, might be broken a little bit, but again, we don't worry about perfection. It's more about taste. I forgot something. Just broken, but that's okay. You need a little bit of butter in the top of any fruit pie. I'm just gonna kind of break that up, put that in there. And I did exactly what I told you not to do. Don't fuss with the crust. But I fussed with the crust. There it goes on top. It's broken. It doesn't matter. It's beautiful. Why is it okay? Because it's about the taste. It's not about perfection. So I put that crust on. A good pie doesn't necessarily have a perfect crust, right? This is the last thing I'm going to share with you. Do we have any questions?
Mostly just lots of people saying how yummy and delicious it looks.
Okay, awesome. So I use the scissors. I cut the leftover, kind of like when you're wrapping a present. You don't want too much paper on the side. I cut the leftover. And then I'm going to share with you my favorite tool for pie baking. Can anybody guess what it is? No, it's not a pie roller. It's the one thing that separates us from the rest of the animal kingdom. Can you guess? Our thumb. So I've got the top of the pie on, and now I'm going to crimp the edges. Now, Grandma would have just used a fork and gone around like this because she was in a hurry, or Mom. But we have a little more time. So what I do is I just roll the top over, and then I just use my thumb like this. Now, every pie crust crimper is as different as the pie baker. I go around like that, crimp, crimp, all the way around. So let's pretend like I've done the whole thing. And the end. This is a little bit of egg white. I always keep egg white in the fridge. Just go around the edge. You dot with some egg white. You dot with a little bit of sugar. Don't know where my knife went. I'll find another one. Let's pretend like I went all the way around, and I'm going to go ahead. I didn't mean that to happen. And I'm going to do air vents. because what's going to happen is I'm going to put this in a 400-degree oven for 10 minutes. That is going to get the crust kind of nice and brown. Then I'm going to turn it down to 350. Now, most recipes are going to tell you to bake your fruit pie for 45 minutes to an hour. Liar, liar, pants on fire. My pies always take way longer than an hour to bake, particularly if they're a fruit pie, because only true way to know if a pie is ready is when the juices start to bubble out. And to me, I wait for the juices to bubble out over here. And here's the truth. You can actually hear a pie crust when it's ready. It makes this weird kind of crinkly, gurgly sound. So sometimes I put my ear in the oven. I go, is the pie ready? My husband's with me like, are you crazy? So as we finish up here, I'm just going to keep crimping. This is far from perfect looking, but I think it will be delicious. If you live in Atlanta, let me know, because this pie is available for you to eat. Actually, an influencer, an OG influencer, who's desperate for a pie. I do a lot of pie contests on my Facebook. If you're not my friend on Facebook, friend me now. I'm at Danica Kombol. Follow me on Instagram. I've got a whole series on my Instagram where I share kind of my secrets to baking a pie crust.
They want to know if you bake at a lower temperature or a regular temperature.
So I start it 10 minutes at 400 degrees. And then I move it down to 350. And I just, particularly apple pies take a long time to bake, because think about those apples are crispy and you need to get them soft. I mean, just always think about, what do I want to experience when I put it in my mouth? So then I put it down to 350, and it usually takes me about an hour and a half for an apple pie. I put a couple of blueberries in this. I always like to put blueberries in my apple pie. Can I tell you why? Because when the fruit bubbles out, it's purple. I like that purple color. I don't really care about the inside recipe. Again, with a cream pie, you have to absolutely follow the recipe. It's like science, you know. You have to follow the recipe. But fruit pie, you know, if I'd had a little more time, I think I would have put a few more apples in here just to give a greater mound. But I think we'll be fine. I continue to crimp. And I think that's about all I have to share. Any more questions before I bow out?
No.
I love you all. I miss all my Mom 2 friends. I can't wait to see you again. I was looking at my calendar and I just had to cancel Mom 2. I had to cancel We All Grow. Kind of the start of this whole thing was I was hell-bent. I'm like, I'm going to South by Southwest, of course. And it got canceled. But I'm kind of loving the quietness. I had so much fun yesterday just going click, delete, click, delete, click, delete of all the trips I had planned. So I'll
Have
be
you
home.
ever won any awards for your pies?
I have. I'm actually an award-winning pie baker. It was a local award. It was here in Atlanta. And I had a pie baker friend who had just passed from breast cancer, literally weeks before. And I was so nervous about entering this contest, but I was fueled by the energy of Barbara, my friend who passed. And I got up that morning at 5 a.m. and I just baked my little heart out. And anyway, I won the pie contest, and I was just funneling Barbara throughout the pie baking. But after that, it was like, I didn't need any more. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for awards. I do it for, as I said, for inner calm, for connecting with my mom who's in heaven, for going back to my childhood, for Zen, for meditation. And look at this lovely, messy pie. Not the most beautiful pie, but I can assure you it's going to be delicious. I threw in a little nutmeg. I threw in a little cardamom. Like I said, with fruit pie, if your fruit is super ripe, cut down on the amount of sugar, because that's really going to kind of crystallize in there. If you're using Granny Smith apples that are tart, add a little more sugar. Nutmeg never hurt a fruit pie. There's not a fruit pie that wouldn't love nutmeg. So, okay, I think we can say farewell. Sky's the limit. Love you all, Mom, too. Friends, I wish I could see you in real life. I can't wait until I get to hug you. Bye.